Good evening and thank you for joining us. City Council has decided to close 9 of Thunder Bay's outdoor rinks. It's a compromise of sorts after significant public blowback caused Council to vote against a far more significant cut over the summer. And that wasn't the only big discussion at City Hall last night. Vasilios Bellos joins us live in studio with the details. Vasilios.
Thanks, Ryan. The city's homelessness crisis was also front and center last night. Councillors were presented with some disturbing statistics, but administration warns that there's significant work ahead to address the problem. A shocking report was heard by City Council regarding the homeless crisis in Thunder Bay.
People may very well die this, in the next few weeks when the weather gets cooler.
2023 saw significant challenges, with a peak of 3 times as many people living outdoors than last year. The discussion turned to a potential centralized location for encampments that could potentially offer amenities like power and running water. But as Director Cynthia Olson explains, with the issue being so severe, one location wouldn't be enough.
One site will not fix this. And so if we were to move down that road and actually designate locations, this will be multiple sites across our community.
The report also found that while many community groups have worked to find individual shelter, only 13 people have been housed as part of the intervention. Mayor Ken Boshkov tied the issue to the opioid epidemic while hinting at seeking provincial supports, but warned other municipalities are facing the same issues.
Go to Toronto and beg a cabinet minister for 20 more chronic care beds to deal with this. But I mean, everybody's lined up, take a number.
Administration will now conduct community consultation with a report on next steps coming back first quarter of next year.
11 outdoor sites were identified as being consistently well below target rates.
Also during the meeting, the closure of 9 outdoor rinks based on severe underutilization and cost savings. The closures include the Woodside, Anton, Pickett, and Holt Parkettes, John Kusner Park, 3rd and High, Wilson Park, Franklin Park, and Confederation Drive. The closures were proposed by Councillor Casey Atraney, who believes this is a better option for the community compared to the recent mass closures proposed.
What administration suggested, closing 31 outdoor rinks, is way too much. Most of the rinks chosen are pond rinks, and they have less than 2 people per hour, and many are well below the 0.5 people per hour in use.
Administration is now expected to report back with cost savings in early December. Vasilios Bellos, TBT News.
After nearly a year and a half of frustration for residents and drivers, River Street has finally reopened to traffic. It had been closed since a twin culvert collapsed 17 months ago, and the ensuing construction has been fraught with delays. Josh Morano has the story.
Nearly 17 months after it was forced to close, the section of River Street between Algoma and Peter finally reopened late Monday after paving was finished on the section that was torn up to repair the collapsed culvert. City project engineer Mike Vogrig acknowledges the project took much longer than anticipated.
But we obviously ran into some delays. We had some slow times in the contract that we tried to address as they came along. There were, according to the contract itself, the completion date was mid-July. There were some extensions to time due to extra work and other delays that we ran into that kind of put it into August, but we're still past that time. So.
The project started with an estimated cost of $2.5 million, and Vogrig knows it's gone over budget, but still doesn't know exactly how much it will cost.
Like typically in a contract, you have about a 10% contingency, but with the way this contract rolled out, we just had kind of the money to cover the contract amount. So when we're looking at the additional work that had to be performed, I think we're a little bit over on some of the materials. We're somewhere around 8 to 10% over currently.
Vogrig says they're still going through the paperwork to finalize the cost to the taxpayer. Josh Morano, TBT News.
Fire crews are still on the scene of a house fire that broke out at a Northside residence this afternoon, causing significant damage. Smoke was seen coming from the home on Gordon Avenue just off of River Street shortly after the fire broke out around 2:30 this afternoon. It prompted a heavy response from firefighters and the blaze was quickly extinguished. Nonetheless, it still caused major damage to the home. Fortunately, no injuries were reported. There's no word yet on what caused the fire. Masks are once again required at the Regional Health Sciences Centre due to a rise in respiratory and flu-like illnesses, including COVID-19. Effective immediately, masks are now required in all inpatient clinical units and in the emergency department. The last time the hospital had a mask mandate was back in May. Hospital officials said the infection prevention and control team is constantly monitoring infection levels, and if the masking requirement changes, the public will be notified. Northern Ontario First Nation leaders are calling for an end to mining activity on their traditional territory without their consent. The group held a press conference at Queen's Park today and is demanding a meeting with Premier Ford. 4 chiefs from Neskantaga, KI, Grassy Narrows and Muskrat Dam have formed a group called the Land Defence Alliance. They note they need to consent to any activity in the Ring of Fire or elsewhere in their territories. The group has rejected a meeting with Indigenous Affairs Minister Greg Rickford, saying they only want to meet with the Premier as they believe Ford will ultimately make the call on behalf of the province. Grassy Narrows First Nation Chief Rudy Turtle says while they don't want the situation to escalate, they'll take additional measures if needed.
We're going to be blockading and he'll have to meet us face to face. If it comes to that, that's not our preference. We prefer that we sit at the table, and hopefully he's smart enough to do that. But if he's going to just keep to his word, bulldozing his way, then I can tell you he's going to meet resistance.
According to the Land Defence Alliance, there are 5,000 mining claims in their traditional territory that they haven't consented to. The Premier hasn't committed to a meeting with the group. Well, Toronto police have reopened roads that were closed around the Ontario legislature today in anticipation of another planned demonstration. Police say they got a tip yesterday indicating a planned vehicle convoy. Beth McDonnell reports.
Toronto police say the blockades were mounted overnight, and in the morning, a huge police presence was revealed. Police cruisers, buses, and garbage trucks all used to stop a potential demonstration from descending downtown involving a vehicle convoy.
I'm not going to speculate on the number of vehicles. I'm not able to at this time. We just have reason to believe that they're intending to block roads and infrastructure.
Officers say the action was planned by a group called Save the Children. Online, it talks about supporting the well-being of children and says indoctrination in schools and bodily autonomy are unacceptable. For over 5 hours, traffic was diverted away from Queen's Park and Hospital Row, although pedestrians were allowed in and out of the perimeter. Police say the protests didn't end up happening, saying it will continue to monitor, assess, and act upon the latest credible information.
God created these children.
Last week on 2 days in Toronto, there were protests and counter-protests around sexual orientation and gender identity education in schools. One outside a school, another coming to Queen's Park, which had more than 1,000 people take part under the banner 1 Million March for Children. There were some protests today at Queen's Park. It was day 2 of a demonstration against private health care, as yesterday the Jewish community celebrated Yom Kippur, with nurses calling for hospitals to perform procedures on nights and weekends.
Let the doctors, the nurses, and the others that work in ORs and in recovery rooms to operate after hours in a not-for-profit basis. That's the solution.
Indigenous groups from Northern Ontario also traveled to speak out about mining development concerns. Some say they've been asking for a meeting with the Premier for close to a year.
It would be devastating. It would destroy our way of life, meaning the freedom, the peaceful nature that we have around there.
Both the healthcare and mining demonstrations were held on schedule soon after police began lifting the roadblocks.
That was CTV's Beth McDonnell. Well, despite all the commotion outside, MPPs continued their work on day 2 of the fall session at Queen's Park. Issues surrounding the Greenbelt are still the hot topic in the legislature. Siobhan Morris has more on that.
A long way from the Vegas Strip, the opposition leader grilled the Premier on a trip to Sin City that's been tangled up in Greenbelt investigations and cost 2 people their jobs.
When did he first find out that his minister was living it up in Vegas? Can the Premier explain how 3 different people could mistakenly give the wrong date? What steps is the Premier taking to figure out who paid for this trip and when?
On that trip, a now resigned minister and 2 aides to the Premier. They told the Integrity Commissioner they bumped into a developer who since had land pulled from the Greenbelt. But employees of the Wynn Hotel tell CTV News 3 of them had massages at the same time.
Should the people of Ontario accept that government policy was being decided on a massage table in Vegas?
The Integrity Commissioner's office says the people on the trip have corrected their dates.
It is not a joke, because what has happened in the province of Ontario under 15 years of Liberals and NDPs is that we have a housing crisis.
The Premier deflected the questions put directly to him.
The Integrity Commissioner cleared myself, cleared my office. The Auditor General cleared myself and cleared my office. Our intent is to build homes.
The Integrity Commissioner feels it's more likely than not that someone tipped developer Shakir Rahmatullah off about Greenbelt changes. He just couldn't say who. New Democrats think the trip needs another look.
We are pulling together all the evidence to prepare another request to the Integrity Commissioner.
The interim Liberal leader says there's a lot more to dig into.
They don't want to talk about what happened in Vegas, or what happened with the Greenbelt, or what happened with MZOs, or urban boundaries in Ottawa and Hamilton.
Opposition parties want the Auditor General to look at the expansion of urban boundaries where people connected to the Premier have benefited.
That was CTV's Siobhan Morris. A gathering of Indigenous elders is taking place this week at the Nor'Wester Hotel. The 4-day event, which runs until Friday, brings together Anishinaabe elders from across the region to share their wisdom with the next generation. Lee Noonan has the story.
The 3rd annual Anakay-Makiwin Elders Gathering is a chance for younger generations and the not-so-young to listen to the teachings and experiences of Anishinaabe elders, knowledge keepers, and residential school survivors.
We've got visitors that have traveled to attend from as far away as Alberta and Wikwemekong and different parts of Canada to reconnect and learn.
The event is the brainchild of Martin Falls First Nation elder Sam Achnipanescum. He wanted to help young Anishinaabe people who were disconnected from their history, culture, and identities.
There was a lot of effort put in by the government and the churches to try and eradicate our ceremonies, our languages, and our history, and all of those things.
Achnipanescum wanted to create a forum where the next generation could sit and listen to the elders who still carry that knowledge.
Like, I didn't grow up learning that knowledge myself. I'm from Yamatung and a very Christianized community. And so, when I came into my teenage years, I wanted to learn more, and I'm still on that learning journey.
The event is also open to the general public. Anyone who's ready to listen and learn is welcome to attend.
There's a lot of conversation discussing, Orange Shirt Day and that reconciliation of those relationships and, what are you going to do? What should you do? What are we going to do? So it's about taking action, and it's about doing it in a loving and kind way.
The event also incorporates ceremony, including the Sweat Lodge. Achnipanescum hopes the gathering will help young Anishinaabe people to revive their ceremonies and feel more pride in who they are and where they come from.
Open the door, I guess, raise their curiosity a bit, to look further into our own history and our own culture. And that will help them, in their daily lives, I guess.
Achnipanescum says it's his hope that attendees here at the gathering will take what they've heard and bring it back into their communities and continue sharing the knowledge. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
A nonprofit that helps first responders deal with trauma has added a new furry 4-legged member to its team. Meet Timber, the brand new therapy dog for Boots on the Ground. He, along with his handler Erica Smith, have joined the organization to provide even more support to first responders who've been through traumatic experiences. Boots on the Ground was founded in 2018 and offers anonymous peer-to-peer support with the help of retired emergency services workers. Northwest Operations Manager Sharon Back says Timber is a key addition to the team.
The ability to kind of have that soft touch, loving of a dog, their energy is amazing. It's just going to be so beneficial. And it's not just for big incidents. We're going to go around to the various first responder services across the Northwest and visit and, stop in when people are on a shift or at a training.
Our long-term plan is to, and we do service people throughout the province, but to expand our core of volunteers and other services throughout Ontario, throughout the province.
Boots on the Ground also announced the addition of an in-person service to help first responders, the first of its kind outside of the Greater Toronto area. Well, turning to weather now, Mitch, another day, another time that we're talking about above seasonal temperatures. It seems like the same thing day after day.
Now, the weather once again is amazing. Just like yesterday, it's kind of getting old saying it's nice, but hopefully continues to see that trend. Temperatures once again way above seasonal, up to 19. Seasonal for this time of year is around 15. Got to a low of 8 earlier in the morning. We did see partly cloudy skies throughout the day, but quite a bit of sunshine. The wind, however, was up from the east-northeast. A little bit cooler earlier in the day at 3, but gusting up to 21 kilometers an hour later in the afternoon. Now, as we head to the region, also warm temperatures. 21 as we head out west in Fort Frances, making its way up to Dryden and Kenora with some clouds in the area. Really no rain in the region whatsoever. There is some rain pushing farther west, but it seems to just be missing our region for the past couple days and heading into the next couple days as well. Atikokan also fairly warm, along with Upsala up to 22. They're just going to see some clouds and some wind heading into the night. Now, as we head farther northwest, more sunshine in Red Lake at 21, along with Sioux Lookout making its way to Pickle Lake. They were fairly clear throughout the day with plenty of sunshine. Also going to see a little bit of cloud coverage heading into tonight, while in Armstrong, a little bit cooler at 20, still above seasonal temperatures. Plenty of sunshine. It's going to be fairly clear heading into tonight, along with Greenstone at 21, while farther east in Sault Ste. Marie, also plenty of sunshine. Really sunshine throughout the region, along with warm temperatures all the way up to 20. Now, as we head into tonight, temperature is going to be dropping down a little bit, sitting around 13, but still above average, 13. Fairly warm tonight. It is going to be clear to partly cloudy, and the wind's going to pick up from the east-northeast up to 20 kilometers an hour. And even though the temperature is going to stay fairly warm throughout the week, we are seeing a little bit of rain on the way, and we'll have those details in just a little bit.
Thanks a lot, Mitch. Well, Canada's Speaker of the House, Anthony Rota, has resigned after that gaffe on Friday that's damaged Canada's international reputation. On Friday, during a visit from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to Parliament, Rota recognized a Ukrainian World War II soldier in the House. The only problem is that he fought with the Nazis. We'll have those details when your news hour returns right after the break.
What happened was completely unacceptable.